Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Move podcast. Today brought to you by Zwift. Oh, man, what a kick this has been. I was a hater. I said, I'm never doing it. I'm riding my bike outside. Call me converted. I'm just loving the WEDU Wednesdays, the Suffer Sundays. My man over there in Greenville, South Carolina, George Hincapie, joining us as well for this show and joining us for most WEDU Wednesdays. He dropped me yesterday on our Zwift ride because my internet went out at my house, and I was like, what is going on? I was all alone. I thought, this can't be right. I got it remedied, and George chimed in on the message board and said, oh, LA always gives me shit about my internet. That was funny.
Yeah, it's fun having anywhere from 300 to 800 riders on any given Wednesday, battling it out there. A good hour ride. And this week we had Johan join us on the Discord channel. So you never know who's going to show up on Discord.
You never know.
And it's been fun.
You never know. Catch it up. Get on Zwift. Download the Zwift companion app. Join our Wednesday rides, even the Suffer Sunday rides. A bunch of fun stuff there planned. So thanks to Zwift. I am joined, as I mentioned just a second ago, obviously, Mr. George Hincapie in Greenville, Johan Brunel over in Madrid, and JB Hager, JB2, down there in Austin, Texas, where I'm just now recovering from South by Southwest.
Brutal, man. Still going on.
Yeah, I was so glad to leave. I was so unhealthy. I came back so unhealthy that, and I don't interrupt this pattern. My athletic greens, it is absolutely part of my daily regimen. I mean, if you work as hard and train as hard and go as hard as we do, you got to have something just to make a difference. I take daily green, my athletic greens every day. I should have said my athletic greens daily. So cool. 75 high quality vitamins, minerals, whole food source superfoods, probiotics, and adaptogens. And guess what? Just under $3 a day, just $3 a day. And I'm telling you, you will notice a difference. It is time to reclaim your health and arm your immune system. Let's make this easy. Athletic Greens is going to give you a free 1-year supply of immune supporting vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. All you have to do is visit athleticgreens.com/themove. Again, that's athleticgreens.com/themove. Take ownership of your health.
And speaking of greens, happy St. Patty's Day, everybody.
That's right.
I know we don't really celebrate that there in Europe, do we, Johan, or we do?
Not a big deal.
If it would be for social media, I wouldn't even know.
It's like, what is that?
Hey, I always say today is the most perfect day in Austin, Texas. This is why everybody moves here. South by Southwest is going on. Music started yesterday. It's St. Patrick's Day.
And it's 75 degrees.
It's 70 degrees. And March Madness is going on. Like it is the ultimate.
Yeah, all you fools. They're like, load up the U-Haul. We're moving to Austin.
I always tell them, come back in August before you make that decision.
In 2 weeks, it'll be 90. In a month, it'll be 100 for 100 days in a row.
Yeah.
I got to say, I had a good time down there, JB. That was damn, Austin's changed.
It's good to have you back, though.
Good to be back. So today we're going to recap. It's funny. We're basically going to talk about Tadej Pogačar because that's all we ever talk about. But there's so many great events going on the calendar right now. Strade Bianche, right, Johan? Strade Bianche. I was calling it Strade Bianche, like the old bike. Strade Bianche, Paris-Nice, the great Paris-Nice, which is an event that we've all done many, many times, as well as Tirreno Adriatico. We'll just kind of run through them in order and talk about stuff. There were a bunch of highlights. The sport is just, it's not disappointing. I'm the first guy to be like, man, sometimes this is boring. It's just not disappointing. It's super fucking exciting these days. But none better example than Pogačar at Strade Bianche, 50 kilometers, 30 plus miles solo off the front. Johan, you have a much better sense on this than any of us, but he just does whatever he wants.
Yeah. Whatever he wants, whenever he wants. It's crazy.
By the way, I love that.
Me too. I mean, he's a guy, he could, especially what really surprises me the most is that a guy like Pogacar, but also a guy like Roglic. We're going to talk about him too. You know, I mean, if we talk about the favorites for the biggest race in the world, the Tour, they are there from day one in the season, and they're at the highest level. Nowadays, these guys, they don't race as much as in the old days, but because, you know, they build in their recovery blocks and training blocks, but they're always at the start line to win. You can't see any of those guys racing for training or to just ride into the rhythm. And definitely Pogacar, not just if you look at Strade Bianche, okay, he won Strade Bianche after a 50-kilometer attack, very difficult terrain. You know, Strade Bianche is the counterpart of Paris-Roubaix. In my opinion, you know, of course, it doesn't have the same history, but it's a very attractive race. But let's not forget, you know, he started in the Tour of UAE, his home, the race of his sponsor, won the two most difficult stages, won the overall. He's everywhere. And
Johan, don't leave out. We would be remiss to not point out that the fact that he essentially attacked on the downhill in Strade Bianche and put them under pressure, made a gap, which shows how good he is technically. I mean, there's almost nothing this guy cannot do. I mean, riding away from Alaphilippe and arguably some of the best bike handlers in the whole sport on a downhill gravel section. Yeah, that means you got some crazy, insane skills.
And at the end of the show, we'll touch on Milan-San Remo, because that's always the question there. Like, you can drop people on the Poggio, but if you can't descend, they coming back. And so Johan and I had a fun little jam session on this earlier today, just how that is not a race for him, right? On paper. We had a disagreement, and normally he's right, but we'll get into that at the end of the show. But to your point, George, he's got mad skills going downhill. He's not afraid.
Yeah, I mean, let's not forget, you know, it's only Slovenia, but you know, he is ex-Slovenian champion cyclocross. You know, so
hold on, you can't say shit like it's only Slovenia.
Not anymore.
I mean,
you can, because I can't see any Slovenian on the international level.
I know, but what I'm saying is you just can't say that.
Yeah, well,
we live in a culture.
Sorry, Slovenians, but the cyclocross level, the level of cyclocross in Slovenia is not international.
For all the Slovenian hate mail, Johan's email address is.
We're not going to get our friend reaching out with the correct pronunciations anymore after that comment.
What was her name?
What's her name again?
Nusa.
Yeah. Oh, okay. I'll have to talk to Yanni and to reestablish my reputation amongst our Slovenian friends.
Hey, and another thing we talk about a lot, and it's just like we're like broken record. Who's second at Strade Bianche? Alejandro Valverde
at 41.
I want to know who brought the cane to the start line and who dropped it off at the finish line for the old man. The guy is the Energizer Bunny.
No, the thing with Valverde is what's really amazing is, you know, talking about a guy who's always there, always ready to race. He's winning from February till October at his age now, just before the Strade Bianche. So basically, he was supposed to do some races in Spain in the Ruta del Sol, and then the Tour of Murcia. He got sick, or a few people in the team got sick, so he had to withdraw. He couldn't start, and he just went to another race 2 weeks later, which is the Tour of Galicia.
Yeah, but it's only Spain.
But he won it. I mean, but there was some good riders there.
Nobody got my joke.
Yeah, I know.
Nobody got my joke. It's only Spain.
I got it. But talking about a guy who's, you know, always there, the big example, the example of endurance, and always ready. You know, it's crazy.
And what a great story for us to watch if Valverde gets a big win, and because he's already announced this is his final season. I know people change their minds on that.
He will.
But to go out with a victory, great story.
The thing with Movistar is, if you look at Valverde, just imagine, take out Valverde of that team. Yeah. They are nothing.
Right.
They are nothing. They have Enric Mas, who's obviously, you know, a top 5 rider in the Grand Tours, and, you know, 2 times second in the Tour of Spain, and top 5 in the Vuelta and in the Tour de France. But without Valverde, Movistar is nothing. They'll have to make some serious changes when he retires.
What I love most about Valverde, and Johan, you've mentioned this many times, now with cycling being so, advanced in technology, in training, and keeping track of data. And this guy is still old school. He goes out and rides hard with his homies, goes hard up the mountains, drops his friends, do sprint lines, street, town line sprints. And he's still with the best in the world that, teams like Jumbo Visma and Ineos have, all to have the best nutritionists in the world, the best trainers in the world. And he's just doing his thing that he's been doing for so long and still winning races.
Artist. What an artist. And it's a young race. You compared it to sort of Italy's version of Paris-Roubaix, but because I
think that's a bit of a stretch, to be honest.
Says the Paris-Roubaix veteran. But my point was that I don't ever remember this race being on the calendar. I mean, sometimes these races somehow emerge and maybe they have some characteristics that are all of a sudden popular like this because of the rise of gravel. But I mean, when was the first year?
I did it in 2011, which was, I think, one of the first years where a lot of the big teams went. Johan, correct me if I'm wrong. And it was my first race of the year.
I think it's 15 or 16 years old.
Yeah. So I did it 2011.
Yeah.
But it was, I mean, what a iconic race. You start and finish in the square there in Siena where they have the horse race. It's one of those things as a cyclist, you get there, I got there jet lagged. You just don't appreciate being there. But now as a fan watching it and seeing how beautiful it is, I mean, it's a truly spectacular event.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of the things I wanted to get George's thoughts on this, because you talk about how these are not tune-up races anymore. And George is a classics guy, is a classics expert. How does this make you feel, or would it make you have felt at the time when the big tour GC guys are mixing it up at the one-day classics?
Oh, good question.
Well, yeah, I mean, it would be interesting. I mean, I was able to, Lance and I did several classics together, but he wasn't really, you'd go for Amstel Gold every year in Liège. But now, like you said, you got, Pogacar, the favorite from Milan-San Remo. You never really saw that until, from back in the Eddie Merckx days where the Tour de France favorite was winning these types of races. So it's like Johan said on our Discord channel yesterday, it's like almost like we're going back in time. Like these guys are dominant now from the start of the year to the end of the year. So it's interesting to watch.
Wow. Asgren coming up as well. I want to keep an eye on him we saw what he did in Flanders last year.
Definitely.
And he's coming up.
He's definitely the leader of the Koning for the classics. And he had a little bit of problems at the beginning of the season, some health problems, but he's getting there now. And in Strade Bianche, he got stronger and stronger during the race. Definitely, I mean, if he stays healthy, this is also something we need to talk about, the health of the riders and people dropping out of races with some kind of virus. I spoke to a team manager last weekend, and he said, I mean, 30% of my riders are out because they're sick, and not COVID, just some kind of bug that's on the either on the lungs or on the stomach. But Asgreen is going to be a factor in the couples classics for sure. I mean, he looks really strong.
I mean, when is the last time we talked about a whole slew of people getting sick and now you have to say, oh, but it wasn't COVID. Like in the old days, we all got stomach bugs, we all got bronchitis. Alaphilippe now out with bronchitis. Wait, what is that again?
Yeah,
old school sickness.
Cold. Hang on a second. Diarrhea. These folks still gonna get that shit? No, but it's true. Like it's always a problem in our game because you're outside, you're on dirty roads, your body's pushed to the limit, you get cold. But yeah, it's apparently running through. They only had 87 finishers in Strade Bianche.
Another fun thing watching this race is, and I highly recommend that all of our listeners, viewers, go listen to the Up and Comer show before Milan-San Remo, right? You need to listen to that because Quinn Simmons, we got a really good look at him at this race. And
7th
Oh,
place.
Johan gave us these names, and a couple of more of them are going to come up before we're done today.
As well as Carlos Rodriguez.
Carlos
who
Rodriguez was the guy, yeah, who
almost, he was the
close,
last
yeah.
guy to stay with Pogacar.
Mhm.
Telling
Yeah.
you, the man's got, I don't know where he's hiding it. I don't see it. I'm looking at you. Where's that crystal ball? Somewhere, for sure. Let's talk about Paris-Nice. But before we do, let's talk about the night's sleep I got last night. Cause it was, my alarm went off. I didn't hear my alarm. I had to get the kids up from school. I slept straight. It was going off. I couldn't wake up. This is a true story. I know I'm talking about the Helix mattress, but it's a true story. Did not hear my alarm. I've been sleeping on this mattress for a year. Super simple. Go on, take a 2-minute quiz, talk about your sleep characteristics, all the things that you sort of identify that are important to you and are consistent with you. They send you a fully customized mattress. Boom, shows up right on your doorstep. George sleeps on it. JB, are you sleeping on the Helix yet?
I'm not. I
yes.
need to. I definitely need to get mine ordered.
I saw the shade that your wife was throwing at you at our happy hour during South by. So you might still be sleeping out on the patio. I don't know, but
Yeah.
it's
Sofa City.
And yeah, that's right. Don't believe us. GQ and Wired magazine named it the #1 best overall mattress in 2020. Head on over to helixsleep.com/the-move. That's helixsleep.com/the-move. Fill out the quiz, get your fully customized mattress. And for right now, up to $200 off all mattress orders and 2 free pillows for our listeners at helixsleep.com/the-move. All right, Paris-Nice, AKA the race to the sun. I used to love always doing Paris-Nice, and it was they call it, obviously Paris-Nice, they call it the race to the sun. And we would start in Paris and it'd be like 35 degrees, miserable. I'm like, where are we racing to again? You sure we're racing to the sun? Because it doesn't feel like it.
Yeah, I remember doing your first race back from when you recovered from cancer. You made it like 3 stages, and then we thought we'd never see you again.
I pulled over to the left, and I said, cold crosswind.
Yeah.
At the back, I said, this is not for me. I'm out of here, man. Pull that number off. Give me a plane ticket home. I'm glad some folks talked me back into it, though. But to our earlier point, this cycling, man, is just, it's fun. It's fun, yeah. and not uncontroversial, right? I'm sure Pogacar puts on those performances. He has to answer some questions. The amount of memes and all the stuff I saw after what Jumbo Visma did on stage 1 of Paris-Nice, when harkening back to the old Guest team in Flesh Wallone when they went 1, 2, 3. But it's, I think certain groups have just figured it out. And I mean that in the most fair and honest way. Like, I think they're just a level above or a couple of levels above.
Jumbo, and they really have no life. I mean, they're going from race to training camp, back to race. And back in the day, we got to go home and hang out and kind of, I think they're spending a lot less time with their families these days.
Yeah. Jumbo Visma is one of the teams who really, I think they have invested a lot in research. They have great staff, and they're just doing everything right. Plus, they do have great riders. I mean, if you look first stage, 1, 2, 3, in theory, that was supposed to be a stage for the sprinters, but they laid it down on that last climb, and Roglic and Van Aert and Christophe Laporte, new signing. Lots of people say, Christophe Laporte, now he's on Jumbo Visma, and all of a sudden he's a lot stronger. I mean, let's not forget, the guy won more than 10 races last year while on Cofidis. Arguably...
Was that the only 10 races they won all year?
The vast majority, for sure. But yeah, I mean, that first stage was just a blow in the face of all the other contenders in Paris-Nice. And if you see those 3 guys riding away on a 1 kilometer climb and then keeping it, okay, everybody lost 32 seconds, but if you know that Paris-Nice is always won with 5, 7, 10 seconds sometimes, that was already a big blow. But then, after that big domination, they did another really impressive stage, the time trial, another 1, 2, 3.
I was going to say, as if 1 wasn't enough, they did it again in the time trial.
So it was Van Aert won the time trial and Roglic second, and this time Rohan Dennis was third. And then it started to be difficult, because they needed to control the whole race, and they didn't get the victory until, let's say, 2 kilometers before the finish of the last stage. So there's a saying, I don't know if you say that in American, but the English, say, the English always say, it's not over till the fat lady sings.
We used to say that here in the US, and this is another probably one of these things you just can't say anymore. You can't say it's only Slovenia. You can't reference people's you can't shame their Johan.
I said it. Yeah. I said it on
all
Twitter.
The hate mail, send it to Johan at beep.
I said it on Twitter, and I didn't get any shit for it. I got a lot of shit for another tweet.
Oh, shocker.
Yeah, obviously, we clearly got to point out how dominant Jumbo was in the beginning of Paris-Nice. I mean, super exciting final stage, which I think we'll talk about here in a minute, but we can't leave out Brendan McNulty. Had some bad luck in the beginning, played really smart, sat up one day, and just for him to go out and win that stage where everybody knew that he was the favorite in that breakaway, and the amount of apparently just put out some crazy power numbers to drop these guys in the climb. Stay away. Has won 3 races already this year. Arguably one of the best riders in the world right now as an American. And then you got Quinn Simmons. I'm bullish on the American scene right now. I got to tell you, Magnus,
and in today's race that we were talking about earlier, Magnus Sheffield was up in front. And these are all guys that have been talked about in the past. And McNulty, he's got some HP.
Mateo Jorgensen.
I think McNulty made a big step forward compared to last year. He's become a better rider and more consistent. Obviously in the Tour, they will take him to the Tour for sure. But he's going to have a helper's role. But that guy has a big potential.
And if you're Pogačar, you have to be seeing this, thinking, man, you have to take care of that guy, acknowledge that guy. Like he will be a key figure for him. Is he doing? By the way, is he doing Milan-San Remo?
I don't know.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't mean to jump ahead, but I wanted to know, as I was watching 2 races all week, Tirreno's going on, while Paris-Nice is going on. How do you guys, how did you feel as riders and as a director too, about these races being at the same time? Do you like that? Do you dislike? It's great for Slovenia. They take home 2 victories, but how did you feel about that when you're racing? Do you like that?
Well, it's just for me, it was a personal choice. I had done Paris-Nice several years in a row. And then it seemed like, most generally speaking, Tirreno was slightly warmer and the food was much better. And you kind of rolled right into Milan-San Remo. So I personally liked the Tirreno Adriatico option just because of that. But a lot of riders lived in Nice. Lance lived in Nice, so it was nice for them to do Paris-Nice because they'd finish right in their hometown. So for the most part, for the biggest riders in the peloton, they had a choice of whether or not they were, they could do Paris-Nice or Tirreno.
Yeah, and it's just less time. I mean, I don't. Back in our day, you only had 2 days between Tirreno and Milan-San Remo, and that's not a lot. And if you just. Yes, it was nice to, of course, we were always trying to race as much as in France as we could just to pretend like we were all buddies. That never worked, but that's not that dissimilar. I mean, you have a hard race, you take a couple of days off, then you have to do a couple of long rides to get ready for San Remo, and then bam, you're there. But I never minded that. There's plenty of guys that can go race both of them. I mean, I'm sure the staff, if you had to pick, if you had to ask the staffs.
Lance, in your case, Milan-San Remo was never an objective, so it didn't really matter which one you did. Paris-Nice was probably more comfortable.
Yeah,
but I personally think if Milan-San Remo is a big objective, I would agree that probably Tirreno is better preparation because it's the Italian roads. You get used to the little villages. So. Anyway, I personally
and the food would absolutely have been a lot better.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, that was also a problem too, because I've done many times where you think you're racing all of these hard races, but you're just eating so much food at these little mom and pop hotels in Italy that you end up gaining weight. And I'd get home from Milan-San Remo many times, be like 4 pounds overweight, which is a big deal in our world.
Yes, for sure.
So there's some downside to that really good food as well.
Mhm.
Well, how good did you guys think Simon Yates looked? He seemed to be gaining strength towards the end of the race.
Look, I mean, he's a hell of a bike rider, and he's, physically he's a great bike rider, but he's also just mentally just tough. I mean, he's a fighter.
Yeah.
And then that's a punchy, exciting, having lived in Nice for almost all of my career, Col d'Ez is an iconic, like when I think about Col d'Ez, I think about all the days I trained on that. I think I even go way back to how many times did Sean Kelly win Paris-Nice, and used to be a time trial up Col d'Ez, and Kelly was
Seven times in a row.
7 times in a row. And I just have these images of Kelly time trialing up Col d'Ez. Obviously Kelly was not a great climber, but he loved that race and he could always pull it out. I mean, Col d'Ez is it's not a monument in the country of France, but it's damn near. And it just leads you to this part of the south of France, where it takes you basically from the ocean to the Alps. I mean, once you get to the top of Ez, you can kind of go anywhere. You could keep going straight and end up in Italy. You could go left and you're deep, deep in the Alps. It's the gateway to just bike riding paradise. People ask me all the time, if you could go ride your bike for a week anywhere in the world, let me be really clear, it's the south of France. Now you got to deal with a little coastal traffic, but once you get up past Ez, it's just bliss.
For all our Irish listeners, on St. Patrick's Day, on top of that, Lance saying that Sean Kelly was not a great climber. His email address. His email address is
Lance at.
By the way, for not being a great climber, he won the Vuelta. So
I knew this was all coming. It's only Ireland. It's only Ireland. Now, if for the Irish people that just jumped in and caught that part of the show, you have to listen to the first part. This has been a running joke throughout the show. Back to your point, JB. I mean, Yates is his kid's a scrapper.
Yeah. Now he was super strong on the last stage, and really put Roglic on the ropes. We all thought that Jumbo-Visma was solid. Roglic had a great advantage, and at the end, when there are 4 or 5 guys together, it's basically 1 against 1, and Roglic may thank Wout van Aert.
Yeah.
But because he saved his Paris-Nice, and what Van Aert did that day on the last stage was incredible. He was pulling by himself for 35 kilometers before the bottom of Col d'Ez, just Van Aert. Then they get to the Col d'Ez, and there's a few attacks. Yates attacks, and surprisingly Roglic can't follow, and Van Aert comes back and basically drags Roglic to the top. Roglic has trouble following Van Aert, and then the 2 of them together in the downhill and on the flat can limit the difference and come back to 10 seconds or something.
Nobody expected to see that. Obviously last year in the last stage, Roglic crashed 2 times, had some super bad luck, but it seemed like this year, and he mentioned something in his post-race interviews that he was perhaps overdressed because it was kind of a cold day, but he was not really dressed properly. So sometimes when you're overdressed, you have a hard time getting your food in your pocket. So to me, it looked like he just ran out of fuel, and Yates still had up the full power there at the end. But I mean, there was 4 guys left there at the end, and how many? I think only, would they say 60, 70 riders finished Paris-Nice. I mean, 55. You never really 55 riders actually finished the whole race. So clearly a very, very difficult stage race, very hard last day, but to see Roglic crack like that was definitely added to the drama, made it very exciting to watch. And kudos to him to stay with Van Aert there, who obviously did an incredible job and saved the race for them.
Yeah.
And I think the coverage I was watching, they said that Roglic had a second bout with COVID just as recently as January. So, it definitely affects people differently, but.
Well, it didn't look like it affected him at all.
I was going to say in the beginning. Yeah. All All right,
But there is
before-
there is a, sorry, Lance,
No, go
real
ahead.
quick. There is definitely some psychological warfare going on right now between these super teams, Jumbo and UAE, where, they have their lieutenants winning races. They have their leaders. Some are really dominating, and Roglic having, that little bit of a crack on the last stage was definitely some points scored for Pogačar there.
Well,
Well,
I
it's-
think there's a difference, between Pogačar and Roglic, is that until now Pogačar has not seemed fragile at all not a single race. And Roglic, yeah, he won Paris-Nice. We all know how difficult it is, but showing that little bit of weakness, and you can hardly call it weakness. He was still third position over the last climb, but that's definitely a factor. And for the moment, I think Pogačar and UAE as a team, they are super strong as a team in the depth, because they won. I think they won now 12 races already, and we're only in March. So that's definitely a psychological war.
Yeah, that's some good racing, and it's only gonna. Man, think about the spring classics coming up. Holy shit, gonna be some shootouts. All right, let's wrap up the show and talk about Tirreno Adriatico. But before we do, today's show also brought to you by 10,000. By the way, George, you see this black hoodie I'm wearing?
I got one of them.
Rocking the black hoodie. This is my go-to workout gear. Been in the gym a bunch more this winter. Everything they make, it fits perfect. The fabric is perfect. It is hands down the best stuff. Over 10,000 5-star reviews, free shipping and returns, all direct to consumer. My favorite is the 7-inch interval short. I love this hoodie. I don't work out in it, but the versatile tee that I work out in is just insanity. So head on over to 10,000.cc, and they're offering 15% off for our listeners on your first purchase. That's 10,000.cc, and enter the code the move, all one word. 10,000.cc.
I wore mine on the tennis courts yesterday, and I got a bunch of compliments. So they're not only for working out in the gym, they're good tennis shorts as well.
Well, and George used to rock his your 10,000. Like we'd go out to like cash, like to dinner. You'd be wearing. I'm like, bro, that's a workout shirt. And you're like, no, man, this is what I go out in.
Oh yeah,
and I even would wear it like on the mountain bike, looking like one of the cool kids. And you're like, bro, you can't. Why are you wearing that on the mountain bike? I'm like, because that's what it's made for. Anyways, Tirreno Adriatico. So for those who don't know, I actually didn't know this. George, aren't you glad we didn't talk about you shaving your balls on this show today?
I am actually.
I didn't know this when I was a young kid over there, but this is a race between two seas, right? The Tirreno Sea, or the Tirreno Sea, and the Adriatic Sea. And it literally, it's always rung true. When I first did it, I was like, oh, wait, is that how they got that's kind of a cool idea. I had no idea.
And I have to say, the trophy, man, it's the coolest trophy.
Yeah, the Devil's Pitchfork.
Well, it's Neptune. Yeah.
I thought they were using it for that goofy guy that used to run.
No. It's Neptune. It's the race
like
of
this. They gave this guy a trophy.
Man. It's the race of the two seas. So Neptune's,
yes.
How do you call that? The trident.
Wow.
Yeah.
See, you learn something every day.
Exactly. That's what I'm here for.
But again, we are starting to sound like a broken record. Tadej Pogačar is just, I don't know. He is another level.
Mm-hmm.
What must you think if you're going into that race? You think you have good legs. You think you can get on the podium or even win, and he's on the start list. What do you hope for? Bad luck, or hope that he gets?
Have we to date? Have we ever even seen a grimace on the guy, or
not
much?
Yes.
Huh?
Yeah, but you know what I mean. The thing with him is he started the race. He was third in the prologue, right? So Filippo Ganna won, Remco Evenepoel second, and he was third. So we already saw in Strade Bianche on which level he was. But then these two difficult stages, he won both of them. The first one was at the end. He just made one acceleration nobody could follow. But that big stage, he won 215 kilometers. They went 2 times up that climb. The first time up the climb, he saw that Evenepoel was in trouble, so Evenepoel got dropped. and the last time was with I think with 30 kilometers to go. Again, he goes, and I've seen the interview of Jonas Vingegaard, who was in great shape. He won a race in France.
I love
You
this
know, he
part.
was second in the Tour, and he was there. You know, and he said, you know, I was just, you know, I could only watch. He was on the limit. I could only watch, and he was just gone, and took. I mean, in no time, he had 1.5 minutes on the second, third, and fourth strongest guys in the race.
Yeah, it's almost as if the favorites, the best climbers in the world, are actually they're coming out happy with their form, and they're not even factoring in Pogačar anymore. They're like, yeah, I'm actually good. I'm in the first group behind Pogačar. I'm happy with my form. Everything's going great. He's on a different level right now.
That's true.
He's not even in their mind.
Well, if you're a one of those guys and you get, and I wrote down this stat, if you got 16th on that stage, 16th place, that's not bad. There's only 15 guys ahead. 16th place on this stage was 5 minutes behind.
Oof.
5 minutes. That is an eternity.
That is.
I mean, maybe 116th place. No, 16th place. You're still in the bike race at some point.
You don't even get that difference in the top 15 in a big mountain stage of the Tour.
No,
No.
absolutely not. I mean, it's just, oh man. Well,
yeah, well, I mean, also repeat victory, you know, back-to-back victory in Tirreno Adriatico. And now, you know, the big difference with, you know, the past is that this Tour de France champion, definitely the big favorite for the Tour again, goes to Milan-San Remo. Just, you know, I want to do Milan-San Remo. By the way, also goes to Tour de Flanders. So
which is a bit risky on you. We know how dangerous these races are. I mean, San Remo and Flanders, arguably some of the most dangerous.
I agree.
And just stressful. I mean, you can hardly blink. I mean, and I know that sounds ridiculous, but I mean, Milan-San Remo 7-8 hours. Like if you do not pay attention the entire time, you are ending up on the deck. And I haven't looked at the weather forecast. We talk, you know, a lot about because races like that, the weather changes everything. But man, that coast road in San Remo, God, it's Armageddon.
Yeah, it's windy. And you think with it being, you know, World Cup, one of Italy's most iconic races, they'd move the cars in some of the cities. No, you're going through these cities, there's still parked cars on the side of the road. You don't know what's coming. So it's not only
fucking chihuahuas running out,
everything.
baby strollers. I mean, it's just, no, they don't. Ma bene.
Ma tutto posto.
No, ma tutto posto. Vai in fuga.
Well, have you guys made predictions for?
Well, Johan and I want George. Johan, let's let George speak first because you and I already had an argument.
He already knows because we spoke yesterday.
But a lot of the listeners don't know that I got a little insider information from Johan. But I do want to point out again, Quinn Simmons in Tirreno Adriatico wins the mountain jersey, rode incredibly in some of these breakaways, had an amazing Strade Bianche, recovered well. This is looking really good for us American biking fans.
And for San Remo.
Yeah,
he's doing San Remo. Yeah, I mean, that's a perfect race for him.
He's a great descender, really good bike handler. You know, Trex, I know we're not allowed to say the name on the show, but they're having a great start of the year and they're riding really well. So it'd be interesting to see. And they won last year. You know, they had a lot of pressure on them.
Yes, for Stuyven, he was a sweetheart, a total sweetheart. Speaking of Trek, because we don't mention them on the show, but George, I don't know if you know or not, we just did an episode, Johan and I did an episode of The Forward with Popo. So that will, for the listeners, just an FYI, I guess we should have said this at the top, but we're going to post that episode. Obviously, Popo being from Ukraine, doing humanitarian missions back and forth from his home in Italy to as close as he can get to the border with the most essential goods, primarily medicine and food. And he's done 2 long trips, 1,000 miles each way. And he's done 2 round trips already. He's starting his 3rd one on Saturday. So Johan and I had a good jam with him for about 30 or 40 minutes a couple hours ago. So
that's great. If you follow Popo on Instagram, I mean, he's made some, you know, really heartfelt pleas. And it's just incredible what's going on, but it's amazing to see what he's doing for his country.
Yeah. So let's make some predictions and we'll wrap this baby up. So I feel like you guys were talking behind my back. I thought I was getting some pre stuff and turns out You guys talked yesterday?
We talked
The fuck?
yesterday.
Well, I was on Discord, entertaining the audience of the Zwifters.
Okay.
I'm gonna throw it out there, and I'm probably gonna be wrong. I'll go first if that's okay with you guys. I'm probably gonna be wrong.
Well, George, hang on. First of all, is Cavendish racing Milan-San
Oh, we don't
Remo or
know.
not?
He doesn't know yet. Apparently,
I know,
they don't
I
know
know,
who's
I
going.
know, I know he doesn't know. Jakobsen is,
They just got a spot on the team. Alaphilippe's out with
Yeah.
he's sick.
and he said that nobody of the team spoke to him, but he would like to do it.
So I'll point out that the one time that Mark Cavendish won Milan-San Remo, your boy right here helped him win. So I know that he can make it. He can make it if he's in good form. He can make it over the Poggio. We'll see what happens. Obviously, UAE is going to make it super
George,
aggressive.
What are you
George,
exactly?
George.
What are you talking?
He cannot make it with. He cannot make it in a group with Pogacar.
With
There's no point.
Pogacar.
Now
Now
I'm saying
all
it's
these-
different.
All these 12 cylinders at the front. Okay. Make a
We
prediction.
don't even know it's racing, but it was 2009 Milan-San Remo, a very exciting race. Go back and YouTube it. It was awesome to see him win. But my prediction was second place last year. Is riding really well. He's got a good team behind him. Caleb Ewing.
Ooh,
I know it's a little
mm,
bit messed up because
Wow.
you could see Pogacar right away from it, but I think Caleb is really focused on this race. He lives right there. Great
He
bike handler.
won a stage in Tirreno.
Clearly wants to win. I got
Yeah.
Caleb.
Okay.
Also, George, if you look back at last year's Milan-San Remo, Caleb Ewan was incredibly strong on the Poggio. He was,
Exactly.
right there.
Yep.
Yeah. My favorite is Wout van Aert.
Good pick.
I think Pogacar is going to light it up, but some people say, okay, he's the strongest climber. He rides away from everybody. I don't think that the Poggio is hard enough to drop Wout van Aert, especially the way he's riding now. Whoever beats Wout van Aert wins Milan-San Remo.
Okay. JB, you want to pick somebody? Feel like you gotta...
yeah.
Look, George makes his prediction. He's gone. Oh no, he's back.
No, I'm here. I'm here.
I'll go with Julio and Alaphilippe.
It's too bad he's not racing.
Is he not racing?
Yeah.
You just pulled a Lance.
Did he? Is he not racing it?
He has bronchitis. Remember that old thing
Oh,
that
he
people
did
used
say
to
that
get sick
earlier.
from?
All right. Let's go with the sprinter. I was liking to see a sprinter, and I was leaning towards Caleb Ewan earlier. Jasper Philipsen, maybe.
He's also not racing. Also has bronchitis.
Okay, strike two.
Who doesn't have bronchitis?
Pick Quinn Simmons.
Yeah.
You guys are killing me.
You better pick somebody that's racing.
Pidcock.
I think he is racing actually.
I think he is.
I'll
Actually.
go with Pidcock.
You know what's funny, and we got to point out, we have not mentioned Ineos once in this show, and they are the.
That's not true. We mentioned Carlos Rodriguez.
And we did mention Magnus, so I'm wrong.
And we mentioned Ghana.
wrong again, and we mentioned Ghana. So Ghana's going to be there. He's going to. I mean, the guy's got some crazy power. If Pidcock's there, I mean, he will be there as well. No doubt. It's going to be crazy, exciting, jam packed. And that downhill, I know you haven't done your pick yet, but that downhill off the Poggio is, even for riders that we don't really even think about it during races, it's one of the most
It's sketchy.
technical, dangerous, scariest descent you do all year, because no matter what position you're in, if you're in the first group, you are going full gas and you are going to barely touch the brakes, and you're going to come within a centimeter of guardrails that if you miss that, you're going off a cliff. So it's one of the most dangerous descents out there.
And it's that way if you just were driven to the top and ridden down totally fresh, your eyes are totally. If you do it after 7 or 8 hours, you got shit in your eyes, you're completely tired, you are cross-eyed as well. You just kind of hitting hope. There's just, so my pick is Pogacar, and my pick is him because he's just clearly so much better than anybody else in the sport right now. And this is the argument or the discussion I had with Johan. I know that the Poggio is not a climb that he is supposed to ride away from others, but this guy, just every little ascent, he gets there quicker, and obviously can climb better than anybody. He probably can descend as well as anybody, and he's not slow. So, I mean, maybe in the scenario that he shows up with Wout van Aert, okay, he might lose. Anybody else? He's fresher, he's stronger, and he's fast. He beats him.
And he's got the guys to get him to the bottom of his Espressa and the bottom of Poggio relatively safe and fresh, which is very, very, very important in Milan-San Remo because everybody knows where they have to be, when they have to be in the front. You got to have the big guys, the big technical guys that can get you to the front with finesse, as I like to say.
Here's a scenario, George, that could happen. What if UAE tries to have one rider in the breakaway?
Yeah,
And,
I mean, there'll be a breakaway,
and Pogacar goes on the Cipressa, and this guy brings him from the Cipressa to the bottom of the Poggio.
Well, you have to assume some team keeps them. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
Listen, this show is we can't have 4-hour shows. That's a long discussion.
And that breakaway is going, at 9:30 in the morning, in the streets outside of Milan.
Exactly.
So it's going to be a lot of
it's full of panic.
small Italian teams.
Yeah,
Okay, well,
exactly.
let's talk on Saturday.
Yeah, we're gonna record that show right after the finish, so we'll get it up as soon as we can. Unfortunately, our good looking, well shaved buddy over there will not be able to make the show because he's on spring break with the kids, fully justified. So you're gonna be stuck with the 2 JBs and 1 LA.
Okay,
We'll
sounds
make
good.
it happen. But hey, thanks for tuning in, everybody. We will come back to you Saturday morning.
Yeah.